Mike was a kid who lived in the heart of New York City, where the skyscrapers touched the sky and the streets were alive with the sounds of honking horns and rushing feet. He had always been fascinated by the city's gritty charm and the people who called it home. But as he wandered the crowded sidewalks, Mike couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, that something was lurking just out of sight. It was on a summer evening, as the sun was beginning to set, that Mike first saw it. He was walking home from the corner store, a pack of gum in his pocket and a spring in his step, when he noticed a shadow moving along the wall. It was dark and twisted, and seemed to be following him, step for step. Mike's heart began to race as he quickened his pace, hoping to outrun the shadow. But no matter how fast he ran, the shadow kept up, its form growing more distinct with every passing second. Soon, Mike could make out its twisted, gnarled features, and he knew that this was no mere shadow, but something far more sinister. He turned down a dark alleyway, hoping to lose his pursuer in the maze of narrow streets. But the shadow was right behind him, its ragged breathing echoing through the alley. Mike turned to face it, his heart pounding in his chest. "What do you want?" he shouted, his voice trembling. The shadow replied in a rasping, guttural voice. "I want you, Mike. I've been waiting for you." Mike tried to run, but the shadow was too quick. It grabbed him by the arm and pulled him close, its foul breath washing over him. Mike could feel his strength draining away as the shadow drew him in. It was only when a sudden burst of light filled the alley that the shadow released its grip. Mike looked up to see a figure standing at the end of the alley, a flickering flame in their outstretched hand. The shadow recoiled, shrieking in terror, and vanished into the darkness. Mike looked up at the figure, awestruck. It was an old man, dressed in a long coat and fedora hat, with a face that seemed to be carved from stone. "Who are you?" Mike asked, his voice barely a whisper. The old man smiled, his eyes glittering in the fading light. "I'm just a friend," he said. "A friend who's been watching out for you. And if you're smart, you'll stay away from the shadows, Mike. They'll swallow you up if you're not careful." With that, the old man turned and vanished into the night, leaving Mike standing alone in the alley. And though he never forgot the encounter, he never saw the old man again. But as he grew older, Mike came to realize that the old man had been right. The shadows were always there, lurking at the edges of his vision, waiting for their chance to strike. And he knew that he had to be careful, to always keep his wits about him, or risk being swallowed up by the darkness.